I'm Rodney.
And I'm G.
And it's the Rodney and G Show.
And today we're going to be talking about the New England and Canada itinerary.
Yeah, this is not a cruise review. You know, we fell in love with Princess on this cruise. We're not going to talk about that, maybe another video. We're just going to talk about the itinerary, the ports that we visited, what we did, and some good suggestions on those. And is it worth going? Would we go again?
So as a recap, the ports that we did is we left out of New York, and then we went to Halifax, Nova Scotia, Sydney, Nova Scotia, Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, St. John, Canada, Portland, Maine, and Boston, Massachusetts, back to New York.
Yeah, so we're going to just talk a little bit about each one of the ports and how we felt about it, you know, because this was a totally different cruise for us. Every other cruise we've taken has been a Caribbean cruise, warm locations.
Or Mediterranean.
This was not warm locations. I mean, it got really cool, downright cold. The one day on the boat when it was, foggy and rainy, man, it was really cold that day. And in each location, it was cool, jacket weather. I think we wore a jacket on every port that we got out at. Maybe not Boston. By the time we got back to Portland and Boston, it was really warming up a lot, but it was cool in Canada.
And just to note, this was in June of 2025. So we do suggest you always pack a rain jacket because we got rain in one of the ports. Okay, so let's start off with Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Yeah, Halifax was our first port. We decided to, we booked an excursion through the cruise line on this one. We went to Peggy's Cove.
Peggy's Cove, the lighthouse, Peggy's
Cove. It was
Cove.
a lighthouse, and that's really all it was. You go up to Peggy's Cove, you see the lighthouse, the rocks. Now, it was pretty cool. I enjoyed being up there at that location, and I had enough time to walk around there.
And off the side of the Peggy's Cove, there's a fisherman's village, which was really cool. Even for pictures was really cool.
You know, what I did not like so much, and this is the problem with any of these excursions that you book through the cruise line, you have these long bus rides. And this one was ungodly long. It was a comfortable bus. That was a double-decker bus, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But the lady, man, bless her heart, she talked the entire time. And I think the problem was she talked about things that were just not interesting at all. How many times did she talk about her flower bush that was blooming?
Yeah,
and every time we passed a flower bush like that one, she's like, there's another flower, whatever kind it was. And I mean, she was nonstop all the way up there and all the way back. We didn't get a break from that. It was, by the time, I mean, she wore me out listening to her by the time we got back into Halifax.
One of the cool things that I saw there in Peggy's Cove, there was, what is that guy that plays that?
The
Ross,
accordion.
Not the accordion, that Ross.
Oh, bagpipes.
Bagpipes.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Ross from Friends. That he played the bagpipes. And that was pretty cool to listen to him there. But once we got back, a long ride, so we just did Peggy's Cove. The Fisherman's Village was just right there. You just walk down. We were there for 1 hour. Then we got back into town and we decided to go on the boardwalk that it's right off the port. You just walk a little bit, but it's right off the port.
So from a guy's perspective, the two greatest things, this excursion had the turd tanker.
Oh, at the Peggy's Cove.
The turd tanker was
the
septic company pumping out the restrooms.
It sure smelled bad when we got there.
Man, I'll tell you what, that was an awesome truck, turd tanker, right on the side. And I've got my picture with the turd tanker. The other thing that the guys out there would enjoy is when you come out at the port of Halifax, instead of going on the boardwalk, if you go straight through the, whatever you call that thing, where all the cruise, the terminal. You go straight through the terminal and come out and turn to the right. There's a really cool brewery there.
Yeah.
And I got a really good peach beer there. So from the guy's perspective, see the turd tanker and the brewery.
Well, the turd tanker was a plus because it was there at Peggy's Cove. We just happened to be the day that they were scooping out the poop. But anyways, the boardwalk was amazing. It is a long boardwalk, so you can literally spend hours going through the boardwalk. It goes through restaurants. It goes through shops, and it's right on the water, so it's really, really nice. When we got there to the boardwalk, there was an awesome donut place. I forgot the name of it, but I'll see if I remember. Went to a donut place. That's the time that they interviewed me, if you saw our Facebook video, because it was donut day. And when you keep on walking, you end up at a place that looks like a food truck court. It's like all the little food trucks, but they're stationed. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, we ate at Dave's Lobster, and they have, you can get anything there. What's the thing everybody says you have to eat there?
A beaver tail.
Beaver tails are there, a lot of food.
We were going to try the beaver
offerings.
tail, but after we had the lobster tail at Dave's Lobster, we were just full because we had donuts prior to that. So we really couldn't get a beaver tail. And we asked about taking it on ship, but they recommend that you eat it as soon as they give it to you because it's fried. So you don't want to take it on the ship, and then it's going to become doughy and so forth.
Yeah, so honestly, if I went back to Halifax, which I don't intend to do, but if I were back in Halifax, I wouldn't bother with the excursion. Peggy's Cove was nice. I probably would have rather gotten a car to take me up there and bring me back. But honestly, the boardwalk is nice. The brewery is nice. It's a relaxing place just to hang out. There's not a lot of action at any of these ports. But I probably would not bother with the excursion. I'd just stay in port. There's enough there to do on the boardwalk. It was really nice weather day too. We enjoyed that area.
All right, the next port is Sydney, Nova Scotia, which is also called Cape Breton. So let's talk about Sydney, Nova Scotia.
Unless you have an excursion, there's some things you can do there, like a fort you can go see, or if you're into Alexander Graham Bell, they had a museum for him you could go see. We didn't book any of the excursions. We did hire a car that took us up to a lighthouse and took us to a fort, some
military museum.
Yeah, military thing they've turned into a museum. Yeah, that was nice enough. And then the guy dropped us back off at a restaurant. Again, to me, there's just nothing there in that port for me to do unless you want to go see the old fort. But, that's misleading. That fort is not an old fort. That fort's been rebuilt. So there's nothing there that's original. So...
And as soon as you get off the ship, you're going to be able to see the world's biggest fiddle that everybody talks about. So everybody takes a picture there.
You know what they had there that was nice? The two things that are nice in Sydney, because I wasn't impressed with anything in the town. To me, again, there's just not a lot here to see. The restaurant we went to was really good. Governor's
Pub and Eatery.
And that seems to be the place. You have to go early because everybody seems to wind up there.
We got there at a good time, and then they had the Irish singers and the piano and everything together. Beer was
great. Ambiance was nice. Music was good. And now they did have a really nice, this is one of the better craft areas I've seen in this port. They had a lot of local craft that I bought, like a hoodie that you pull over. A friend of ours bought a wallet, a change purse. There's a lot of nice crafts inside that facility. For me, again, there's nothing really to do there. I think I would get off. I wouldn't try to fight the crowd. Get off the ship, enjoy a nice lunch early at the Governor's Pub, come back and see all the crafts that are available. To me, that's about the only thing there was.
Or if you want to take an excursion from the ship, but really, there's nothing else to do there.
Yeah, not really.
Not really. Well, they had a little boardwalk.
Yeah, but it went nowhere. I mean, it just literally
on the water.
If you just wanted to walk and get exercise, the boardwalk is great. But it's not set up like the Halifax boardwalk where it goes through a lot of shops and things like that. It's just a boardwalk next to the water.
Yeah, and we unfortunately didn't do that because by the time we finished eating at Governor's Pub, that we decided to do the port walk, it started raining.
Yeah.
So we're like, forget it. We're just going to go back into the ship. All right. The next stop was Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, the one I was looking forward to the most because if those of you who are familiarized with Anne of Green Gables and the rolling hills, that's what I was looking forward to. And we didn't go.
Have you ever read Anne of Green Gables?
I've never read Anne of Green Gables, but I know about Anne of Green Gables.
So this was a big deal, though. We had people actually talking about this stop on the cruise even before we got there. And it was just a bad weather day. That's the day that, you walk outside, it was total
wind.
Total fog. You could not even see the handrail at one point. And then the wind was bad. The rain was bad. I'm telling you, it was out on the water. It must have been 30 degrees. It was freezing. And the captain made the difficult decision that you just couldn't get through the channel and couldn't get ported. Honestly, for those that had excursions booked, it would have been a miserable day.
Yeah, and we had heard that because it goes to Prince Edward Island, it's a really narrow way, and the ship can only go that way. And if it sways to the right or it sways to the left, it's going to hit something.
Yeah, it's not the easiest
So
thing
it
to
has
do.
to stay in the middle path. And because of the winds, the captain couldn't dock. But there were so many people. There were so many people we met on the ship that went on this itinerary
Because of
just for Prince Edward Island. But it is what it is. We couldn't go.
Yeah, I would like to go back there sometime, because that was the one port that looked like it had some stuff to do, some stuff to see. What I think we were going to do is try to rent a car with our friends and just go around the island and see the nature, see the sights and things like that. But again, we couldn't make the stop, so it was an extra day at sea.
All right, the next one is St. John, Canada, also known as the Bay of Fundy.
We didn't have anything planned, but when we got off the ship, we saw they had the hop on and hop off bus. So we're like, okay, we'll do that. Well, we didn't realize until we did it that it was actually a Princess Cruise excursion, so which is fine. They just billed our room for the thing. I'll tell you up front, it was like $75 each. It had 11 stops on it. That was
It was
let me tell you the good thing about the port first. We went to this place called City Market. It's within walking distance of the port. You had to go uphill a little bit.
Yeah, it's an incline.
I'm telling you, I had the best cinnamon roll I've ever had in my life.
Yes.
It was phenomenal. I can't explain to you how good this cinnamon roll was.
Yeah, I didn't get the name of the place, but it was like the only bakery. As
When
soon
you go
as
in
you
City
go
Market,
in,
it's right there to the left.
the left.
There it is.
It
Coffee
is.
and
yeah, it's a coffee shop /
baked goods.
Baked goods, and I had to talk to the lady because I love baked goods, and she said that their baker just took it out of
She used a biscuit recipe.
And made it her own. But it's like the best cinnamon roll I've ever had, and they had coffee and other treats.
Phenomenal.
But when you go into the City Market, which is pretty cool, the whole left side is all food. Then the whole right side, I know this is probably opposite, but the whole right side is a fish market. So there's a fishy smell everywhere.
Yeah.
And then the center is they have all the crafts. So you can go there off the port, but St. John is very inclined. All the roads are inclined.
The thing about St. John, the popular excursions off the ship are to go to the Hopewell Rocks, but it's a bus ride of like 3 hours, and I just I just can't do that. I'm not on vacation to ride in a bus for 6 hours, not knowing what you're going to see when you get there and so forth. But I'm telling you, the hop on, hop off, this was the first day they operated. We were in these nice coach buses, but man, it was horrible. They told us whenever we bought this thing, it's 12 to 15 minutes between buses. We waited 55 minutes, an hour between buses. It was horrible. And we stopped at this one park because they made it sound like it would be this wonderful park where you could take a lot of pictures. It was huge letdown. We wound up just sitting on a park bench waiting for an hour for the next bus to roll through.
Yeah.
And it was we really couldn't even get off but a couple of stops.
Now
it was bad.
They're the pink hop on hop off buses, but they didn't have the pink hop on off buses because it was their first day back, so they put us on coach buses. But it's unfair because it was the first day back. We've never done this before, but apparently it's not supposed to be this way.
Yeah,
it was just
unfair.
a bad thing.
It was so bad. Funniest things, when we first get on the bus, there's an old lady, the old guy driving and an old lady, and he missed a street. And she was like talking while he did it. She's like, well, you missed the street. We were supposed to turn back there. Well, she was still on the intercom system on the microphone and didn't realize it. So we all knew. And by the time we got to our third stop, we were all like, man, maybe we should just get off. I don't know what's happening here. So we did get off and go to the city market. And we had a nice restaurant. This is also where they had the container shopping area.
But before the container shopping, in one of the stops, that's another tourist attraction, is the reversing rapids, where the water just meets and they reverse. So we went there, nothing big.
You know what the problem was
Nothing
there
big.
is in the background they had this giant paper mill or some type of a giant mill. So to me, it's not nature when you see this giant whatever this mill was in behind it. And then the only thing we heard about on the bus from that point on is this: whoever owned that mill owned the whole town, I guess. His
St.
family.
John.
They were like the most powerful family around. And that's all they talked about the entire bus trip.
Okay.
But now I'll tell you, but we talked to Princess about how bad it was at the shore excursion desk, and they wound up refunding us part of our money. So I told you we paid $75. They gave $30 back. And it was only fair, man, because it was It was rough.
But if you did want to not take an excursion, there, that's why the reason why we took hop on hop off bus. When you get out of the port to the left, there is a building that has restaurants and it has a public library, and it's pretty nice. It's right on the waterfront. But then right before you get to port, you got to go through this container village, right? It's a
they have all these shipping containers.
Waterfront container village. So the containers are made into shops. So they had beaver tails there, and they had crafts. So that was pretty cool, and foods that are common to Canada.
Yeah, not much else I can say about this place.
All right, then our fifth stop was Portland.
We've
Maine.
been to Portland before.
We've been to Portland before as vacation. So this was the first time we went as a stop on a ship.
The thing about Portland is the port area there. When you get off the port, there's some places to eat. Okay, so if Gilbert's. What's the name of the
Gilbert's Chowder House.
I'm telling you, we went to Gilbert's. It's only about a half mile from where our ship docked. We walked down there. Awesome restaurant. One of the best meals we had in the entire vacation.
Friendly.
If you want lobster, the lobster rolls. Now, the only thing you got to keep in mind, these lobster rolls can be served Maine style or Connecticut style. I like it Connecticut style, where it's warm with butter. But you're not going to get that in Portland. It's all going to be the mayonnaise-y type stuff. So
Which is cold with mayonnaise.
I got crab instead, and it was awesome. But that's a terrific restaurant, terrific beer. I got the blueberry ale. Great place to eat. But that's all you've got in Portland. You've got some restaurants, some bars. The shops are there are not really shopper friendly. They're not really
They're tourist traps.
They're not. There's nothing right there in the area. Now, when it comes to Portland excursions,
let me say about the
excuse me.
Well, because you're going to go off to the next thing, and then I'm still talking about the restaurant.
I'm talking about Portland and where to
Gilbert's.
go. All right, go ahead. Now, let me know when it's my turn to speak again, when I have permission.
He just went on and on. Gilbert's, I had a lobster BLT, and it was amazing, plus your crab and corn chowder, which was amazing. But like what he said, there's two ways to eat a lobster roll, cold with mayo or warm with butter. They don't do the warm with butter there, so that's why we didn't get it, because I don't like the cold with the mayo, but to each his own. But the food was absolutely great. The ambiance, the service, the waitresses, everybody was great. All right, let's continue.
Well, welcome again to the G Show. That's all I got to say.
Well, where did you leave off?
Well, in Portland, if you want to find something to do, the harbor tours are probably nice. There's a lot of lighthouses to see. We enjoy one particular lighthouse that's out by a big park. There was another lighthouse that we went to. I don't know how it's like they built this causeway going out to it. You have to jump over stones to get out there. It's not for everyone, but we enjoyed that on a previous trip. The best thing in the Portland area, for my money, is Old Orchard Beach.
But you can't
do a cruise excursion to Old Orchard Beach because you need to get out there in the evening when everything is really alive. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you if you have a Portland trip. Get off, eat at Gilbert's, and get back on the ship and enjoy the sights of the harbor. That's all
if you go on vacation, there's tons of things to do. If you go on the ship, there's limited, but you go to see the lighthouses and so forth.
Portland so the entire state of Maine reminds me of North Carolina. It looks like they picked up Western North Carolina and dropped it by the water. And Portland, to me, reminds me of Asheville, North Carolina, more than any of these two cities. To me, are very similar. From the port in Portland, you're walking uphill if you're going to go anywhere, and it's all bars and restaurants, and to me, Portland and Asheville are very similar.
All right.
If you want to drink, you can do a lot of drinking in Portland.
Yes. And the last stop was Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah, I had fun in Boston.
Boston is fun.
We had a cab take us up to the end of the Freedom Trail. It was about a 15-minute ride or so, at Bunker Hill. So the Freedom Trail has about 16 different historical spots.
It's a 2.5 mile trail.
We took it backwards. We went to Bunker Hill and came back to finish up around the park because we wanted to go see the Cheers bar. So I enjoyed Bunker Hill. That day there were 250 people there under a tent. They were having a ceremony so these folks would become U.S. citizens. Because
it was a 250th anniversary, so they picked 250 people that were becoming citizens, and they did their oath there that day. So it was pretty interesting.
It was pretty cool, despite the protesters.
Yeah.
Then we went to the USS Constitution, Old Ironside. Man, I really enjoyed that. We got to go on. There's no charge to go on there. They just you have to go through security.
That's
And
on the Freedom Trail.
that was really fascinating to get on that boat and think about what life was like, especially back when it was in service. I enjoyed that immensely. But there are a lot of, I mean, we saw Paul Revere's house. We saw some other historical houses. By the end of the 2.5 mile track, you're right in the middle of Boston. You've gone right through the middle of Boston. There's a lot of walking. But
Now, the downtown area of Boston is amazing. They have city markets. They have food halls. I mean, it is happening. It's almost like being in Times Square, but in Boston. It's a lot going on.
You can stay there all day. Easy.
You can stay there all day. So we definitely that's one of the things that we enjoy. We definitely want to go back to Boston and spend, a couple of days there, because there is a lot to do and there's a lot of museums, especially if you're into that. But then we went to Cheers Bar and we got in and then we came back out.
So this was a little bit of a letdown for me. I mean, we went because our friends were really excited about it and that was cool. But the only thing that's there is the outside of the bar. I mean, obviously, they didn't film. This is not a filming location. They just filmed the outside of this bar, and that was at the beginning of the show Cheers. The inside of the bar is just really packed. It doesn't look like Cheers per se. It just looks like a nice old bar. They have taken the upstairs, and they actually built a mimic of the set of Cheers. To me, it doesn't look the same, but I wasn't a huge Cheers fan. The thing is it was so crowded, so packed, you really couldn't even turn around. And finally, we were in there maybe 20 minutes and walked around. I felt sorry for our friends. I think they were going to buy a mug or do some things. It was very crowded. They didn't have a lot of people working there in the gift shops. And when we walked out, the line was going down the block. It was ridiculous to get in that place. I don't know what people expected. I guess it's so popular just because... But really, if you wanted to go by and take a picture of the outside, that's the only thing that really has anything to do with the show.
Oh, and it's across the street from their popular park. So if you want to just walk the park, you could do that. But that's about it.
Yeah. So we wound up walking around. And the other thing is that street you wanted to find.
Oh!
Holy moly.
Acorn Street, the most photographed street in America. Acorn Street.
It's every bit of 150 feet long, if that.
What a disappointment. I finally get to Acorn Street, which is the most photographed street in America. And when I get there, I look at it and I'm like, this is it? Like,
cars parked in the middle of the street.
Seriously? This is it?
I don't get it.
It was this tiny and it just has cobblestones and then it's an incline with the houses on the side. The apartments on the side. But I've been to streets that look like that all over. So I have no idea why is that the most photographed street in America. But
we walked around the neighborhood and found a place to get a beer. And then fortunately, I talked them into getting an Uber to go back to the ship. For some reason,
my friend and I thought that we could walk it.
Thought you'd go the cheap way without having to pay a car. And finally, we called the Uber. It took us back, and we were about halfway back to the port. And they're like, man, I'm really glad we didn't try to walk this.
Yeah, because that it was a 45-minute walk from the bar that we were at to back to the ship. But they don't tell you that you're going in the highway or through the highway or overpasses, underpasses. There was no way we could walk that because there's no sidewalk.
In 45 minutes.
So anyways, that is the end of our
That was the last
itinerary.
So would you go on this itinerary again?
I want to go back to Boston. I've been to Portland twice now, so I don't need to go back to Portland, but it is pretty cool. I want to go back to Boston. The other ones I can do without Boston, but I do want to go to Prince Edward Island, and we have no idea how to go to Prince Edward Island without all
You know
this.
what, though? These are not bucket list things for me. There's a lot of other places I have not seen yet that I would do before I went back to Boston. And I'm not going to go out of my way to get to Prince Edward Island just because I missed it. I love the Princess. I'm glad we took this cruise because it was a different part of the country I've never been to before.
Yeah, me too.
Now, I guess that if you wanted to go in the fall and just see beautiful fall colors, I think this itinerary is very popular in the fall. But that's just because you're going to see the fall colors and take pictures of the foliage and everything.
Yeah, and I really can't go in the fall
Yeah.
because I'm a school teacher, and this is a 10-day cruise, so there was just no
For
way
me, I'm not
I
going to
could
do
have
this
made it.
itinerary again.
Yeah. All right, so I
You
hope
can take your mom.
I'm not going. Don't worry. All right. So if you have any questions, please post them below, and we can answer them. And remember
Or not,
to
you
like
know.
and subscribe our channel.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Adios.